Do you love houseplants, but you have no more counter space to put them? Well, if that's you, stick around because boy, do I ever have a craft for you. So if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button and let's dive in.
Hey friends, welcome to Twirl Craft Studio, where we turn everyday things into, oh wow, did you make that? Grab your crafting supplies, maybe a snack, and let's make something beautiful together.
A shout out to my friend Shannon, who is a friend, a fellow crafter, and a supporter of this channel. She sent me an idea, and I was inspired by that idea to make this craft. The primary items that we'll be using for this craft, and I'll put the tools and links in the description below, but we need some sort of frame. I am using this round frame that I got at the dollar store. You could also use a square frame, and then 3 small jars. Again, I got all of these almost, I think I got at the dollar store this time. So 3 small jars. If you're using fake flowers in these, you might want to keep this moss in. But if you're using water, then of course remove it. And then we need a couple of different gauges of copper, a 10 gauge or a 12 gauge, and then a smaller one, probably about a 20. Now, some of you have asked me, well, where do you get your 10 gauge or 12 gauge? That's a really good question. And I have it right here. So I keep the scraps of any electrical projects. My husband sometimes does some electrical projects, or I find them just randomly, and I have a box down below filled of electrical cords. You can also, if somebody is working on the house, you can check around to see if they have scraps, or even offer them a couple bucks to have scraps, and then I just keep them for when I want to do projects. And you just take an X-Acto knife and you rip away the plastic. So that's where I get the thicker copper wire. I'm sure as well you could probably buy it on Amazon, but there's always little scraps lying around, so that's what I use. Okay, we're going to start with the ring. I'm going to put these aside for now. And what I want to do with the frame right now, because I will be hanging these bottles from the frame, is I need some sort of hooks up here. So that's where our copper wire comes in.
We're going to start by drilling 3 small holes at the top. No drill? No worries. You can totally just wrap the copper wire right around the hoop instead. I like to use a clamp to hold everything steady because drilling projects are fun, drilling fingers, not so much. All right, friends, today we're making 3 copper wire hooks. Simple, stylish, and weirdly satisfying to create. This is one of those projects where you start with a pile of wire and suddenly feel like a metal artist. No fancy tools, no measuring stress. Just vibes, copper, and a little creative chaos. First things first, grab your copper wire and cut 1 longer piece for the center hook. This one's going to be our anchor, our main character. Take that wire and feed it through the center hole. Once it's through, bring the ends together and gently twist to form a loop at the bottom, and then cut 2 equal length wire for the side hooks. Nothing tight or aggressive here. We're going for relaxed confidence, not I fought the wire and lost. And seriously, don't overthink it. These hooks are very forgiving, unlike my last haircut. Still recovering. Feed each piece through the remaining holes so they sit evenly on either side. Already looking cute, right? Now comes the fun part, shaping. Starting at the top of each wire, use your fingers or pliers to create a spiral. We want a gentle bend here, nothing dramatic. This is a hook, not a roller coaster. No thrill rides today. Once the top spiral feels right, you can hammer it flat or keep it as is. And if it looks a little wonky, congratulations, you're doing it correctly. That's handmade charm, people. We celebrate the wonk. Go ahead and repeat this process for the other 2 hooks, but small spirals this time, adjusting as you go. Try to keep them similar, but not identical. Think stylish siblings, not matching triplets. Once you're happy with the shape, give everything a final little tweak, step back, and admire your work.
Okay, and now that I got the hooks in place, this one is for hanging and the other two hooks are for hanging this, and they're nice and flat on top. We're on to the next step. So I'm actually just going to move this aside and we're going to work on the rest. Starting with these glass jars. For the moment, I am going to take the moss out because I don't have fake daisies to put into it. I'm putting in real pothos plants, clippings. So I'm just removing this. And then we're going to wrap it in copper wire.
For this project, you'll want to use 10 or 12 gauge copper wire. It's sturdy enough to hold the glass securely, but still workable with a little patience. Now, I'm not going to lie, thicker wire is a bit of a workout. It takes more effort to bend, and your hands will definitely know you've been crafting today. But trust me, it's worth it. Start by making a small spiral at one end of the wire. This not only looks pretty, but it also helps anchor the design and keeps the glass from slipping. Think decorative and functional, my favorite combo. Because I absolutely do not want to shatter the glass and ruin my mood, I don't wrap the wire directly around the bottle right away. Instead, I wrap it around something with a similar width first, just to get the general shape. A marker, a dowel, or literally anything cylindrical that's close in size works great here. Once the wire has that basic curve, I carefully transfer it onto the glass and slowly mold it into place. Keyword, slowly. No rushing. The glass is innocent in all of this. As you wrap the wire around the bottle, keep the tension snug but gentle. You want it secure, not strangled. If the wire feels a little uneven, that's totally fine. We're going for handmade charm, not factory perfection. When you reach the end, finish it off with another small spiral or loop. This gives the piece a nice visual balance and keeps any sharp ends tucked away. Repeat the process for each bottle and don't stress if they're not identical. Slight variations actually make them look more artistic, like a coordinated set instead of copies. All right, friends, now we're moving on to one of my favorite parts of this project, making the chain links with beads and wooden flowers. This is where everything starts to feel a little magical and very custom. I always like to start with the center link first. It's kind of like setting the tone for the whole piece. Once the center looks right, everything else just falls into place. At least that's what I tell myself. So, grab your wire and decide how long you want that center chain to be. This one is usually slightly more detailed than the others because it's the focal point. I thread on a bead first, then a wooden flower, and sometimes another bead, depending on the look I'm going for. There's no rule here, just balance and vibes. Once everything is on the wire, I gently bend the wire at the top to create a loop. This loop is what connects the chain to the rest of the piece, so make sure it's closed securely. We want pretty and practical. Then I move to the bottom and form another loop, locking the bead and flower in place. And don't worry if the wire isn't perfectly straight. Honestly, a little organic movement makes it feel more handmade and less hardware store aisle 7. Now that the center link is done, I hold it up and use it as my reference point. This helps keep the rest of the chains visually balanced, even if they're not exactly the same length. For the side links, I repeat the same process. Wire first, then beads, then wooden flowers. Sometimes I switch up the bead order slightly so everything feels coordinated but not copy-paste. Think curated, not cloned. As I build each link, I attach it directly to the previous one. This makes it easier to see how the whole chain is flowing and helps me adjust lengths as I go. If something feels too long or too short, I fix it right then, before it becomes a future me problem. When forming the loops, take your time closing them neatly. You don't want gaps where things can slip out later. A good snug loop now saves a lot of frustration later. I also like to step back every so often and just look at it. Is it balanced? Does the center still feel like the star of the show? Are the wooden flowers spaced in a way that feels intentional? And remember, imperfection is part of the charm. These pieces are supposed to feel soft, natural, and a little whimsical. If it's not ruler straight, you're doing it right. And just like that, You've turned simple wire, beads, and wooden flowers into a chain that feels delicate, artistic, and totally one of a kind. Honestly, this part is slow, meditative, and oddly satisfying. And before you know it, you've got a finished piece that looks way more complicated than it actually is. And that's the best kind of DIY. Once all the chain links are connected, give everything a gentle shake test. If nothing shifts or slips, you're golden.
Okay, this could totally be done here and it ready to hang. So you can either stop here or you can just add, you might want to add some string around. I like the natural color of this, so I'm not going to paint it or anything, but you could paint the circle. But I do have one more detail that I'm going to add. So let's do that. To tie everything in, I have these nice little flowers, and I have done another episode where I make this pendant, so I'll link it if you want to learn how to do it. But I decided that I'm going to put this at the bottom of the circle. If you don't want to use a drill, I suggest you just glue it, but because this flower is very open, you might be able to see the glue. So I'm going to actually drill a hole and go from there. Use this again to clamp it down. Okay, and then I'm just kind of eyeballing where it is, about right there. And I'm going to drill a hole. Am I going the wrong way? Maybe. Oh, I was going the wrong way. Okay. And now that I have the hole, I'm just going to take my 16 gauge copper wire, and we're going to do a spiral on both sides to secure it in place, to put it right through, just to put it right through the flower. Okay, so making a spiral, just a small spiral, and then putting it through. It's got to be a bigger spiral than the hole here, so let's, yep, we're good. And then I'm just doing a spiral on the other side to hold it in place. And I'll show a close-up of this in a minute. Make sure it's nice and tight. It's nice and snug on the other side. And then I'm just going to bend the spiral like that. Perfect. And then it holds it in place nicely on the other side. Okay, and now we just have to put the water in and put some plants in. Here it is. What do you think? Would you put plants in here or would you put fake flowers? And you can just hang this in the window. You can either use a suction cup hook in the window or just put a string straight from the curtain rod.
Simple glass bottles, warm copper wire, soft wooden details, all coming together in the sunlight. I love how the plants add movement and life, and how each piece feels balanced but still handmade. It's airy, sculptural, and honestly one of those projects that looks even better hanging in a bright window.
Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.